Welcome back, everybody. Saturdays with Chickenduck 139, 138.
37.
Oh, getting ahead of myself. 137. Joining us this week, Mike Zellner, former professional wrestler. And can I talk about your current position, or do you want to just...
No, you can.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You're a prison guard now,
Yep.
so okay. We're not going to say where, but, I mean, it's clear that you're a prison guard. You look like a prison guard. Not to say stereotypical things or anything. Casey, you're here as well.
Hello.
We're pretty sure Vu's going to show up here in a little bit. But yeah, that's about it. We're going to chat about some wrestling.
Absolutely.
And I have a couple prison guard questions for myself.
Okay.
But what's new with you, buddy? How was your week? You had an awesome week.
I did have an awesome
I'm
week.
sure you
so
just want
yeah,
to jump right into the...
I'm sure you know, as the show, when we have guests on, we usually bullshit about our lives and then get into the guest shit. So.
I mean, we're here for you, but
So last Thursday, I went down to see the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot in Philadelphia at the Prince Theater. And
did you see the movie?
yeah,
Oh.
it was a screening of the movie.
I'm going to ask you, when you say reboot, totally
When I say reboot, I mean it's the exact
shot
same
for
movie.
shot with the actors how they are in their current state right now.
Yeah, basically.
All of them are still alive?
As if the first one never happened.
Right. Well, no, they know that the first one happened, and they make fun of that, like the whole movie. Like they say because it's actually them. You know how in the first one they were going to stop the making of
Comic
Jay and
book.
or the Blunt
Right.
Man and Chronic movie. Well, so they're rebooting the Blunt Man and Chronic movie in Hollywood,
Uh-huh.
and they're going back to stop the reboot of the Blunt Man and Chronic movie. And
Very meta.
yeah, so
it's like a
it's pretty
Inception
much,
almost.
It's pretty much exactly the same movie, but they throw in and they mention it throughout the movie about how shitty reboots are and like how people just he's like they always just tweak something just a little bit that just pisses you off just a little bit that man
That's
it's the
funny.
exact same movie but it's just a little different.
All
know?
the same actors?
Oh yeah.
Actresses too?
You want spoilers?
No.
Okay.
Wait. How could there be spoilers on a movie that I've already seen?
True.
They
There's
reboot
one
the
spoiler.
movie.
There's one spoiler.
Whatever, then. It's not a true... whatever. So it is a shot for shot, but there's new stuff.
Yeah, yeah. There's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not shot for shot,
I gotta
but
be
there's
honest.
a lot of stuff that is identical. Like the what's her name? Shannon Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Remember when he sees her in movies, and he's like sucking his finger
Yeah.
and like humping the counter and shit. Exactly the same. He sees her on TV. She's a newscaster now or something, and the exact same scene. He does that exact same shit. She's walking through the door doing the same shit.
And it's Jason Mewes from 2019
Yeah.
instead of Jason Mewes from
yeah.
19.
But he looks exactly the same. Just a little older.
Just a
He
little
still has
older.
long hair. I mean, he still looks like
Kevin Smith doesn't quite. I mean, Kevin looks like
Kevin
a
looks like a
different person.
completely different person.
Right.
Yeah. He lost like 200 pounds.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I couldn't. The picture from your Facebook the other day was enlightening.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he had lost that much weight. He looks
Yeah.
great.
He went completely vegan and hikes
That's a
every day.
f***ing commitment that I don't know that I'd want to make.
And does
I'll just take the hard way. I'll die. I'll just die.
he does intermittent fasting it's called also where he like only eats like 8 hours during the day or something.
I have the opposite of that, where I stop eating for 8 hours. It's
Usually while
Well,
sleeping.
called sleep.
Yeah.
I call it intermittent fasting. Also, yeah, same thing. So
so
part of my program.
So yeah,
So you saw the movie.
I saw the movie. Then they came out. Well,
What-
Kevin comes out.
How many people in attendance? Out of curiosity.
500 maybe.
Really?
It was a real small theater in Philly. It's
So
called,
you and 500 people in a theater?
Mhm.
That's a pretty big
yeah, it's like
theater.
a riot type thing, but not
Oh, okay.
as big, you know.
Yeah.
So the meet and greet. Barbara got me a meet and greet for the show, and it was supposed to be before the show, but I got there a little late, and they were running late, I guess, with the people and everything. So mine got pushed to after the show, which is fine, no biggie. So you go down. I went downstairs into the basement, and Kevin and Jay are just standing in this room. I go in. Kevin gives me a big hug. Jay gives me a hug. I give him the pins. Jay put his pin on right away. and I pulled out my recorder, and I was like, not that kind of recorder. And I said, would you guys mind recording an intro for my podcast? And Kevin goes, well, let's record a podcast, man. So we recorded like 5 minutes.
That's
just,
awesome, and it sounded great. I mean, I was very impressed with the fact that you were able to keep yourself together.
Yeah,
because
so was I.
Is that up? I didn't see that.
It's the intro to last week's.
It's the audio of last week's episode. I put it at the beginning of.
It'll be the intro to every episode for the next.
Yeah, because at the beginning they say, this is Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes, and you're listening to Saturdays with Chickenduck. So.
Yeah, but I mean, the interview was good. You sounded good. You sounded like you actually knew what you were doing.
I kind of do.
They confirmed my the pins were a better idea than the patches.
Yeah,
that was my big takeaway from the interview. So, and the pictures were great. So good job.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
Good job, field reporter.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, and so I rolled a couple joints because Kevin Smith is a big pothead, as I am myself.
What?
And
I did not know that.
Oh.
And
spoiler alert.
So I took out my tin and I said, you want to smoke a joint? And he's like, oh man, I wish I could, but we can't down here. We're inside. They'd be pretty pissed. He's like, I've been going out to the van every time. I said, well, here, take one, man. And he's like, shit, look at you. He goes, take one of mine. So he gave me a Jay and Silent Bob now have their own marijuana brand.
Of course they do.
In California. And he gave me one of their joints pre-rolled, and it's called Snoogans.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was quite tasty.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So all in all, good trip.
Very good, yeah.
Where was it? Philly?
Philadelphia at the Prince Theater. It's called the Philadelphia Film Society now or something.
You went by yourself?
Me and my buddy Kevin Brett, the photographer.
Oh, sure. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask Johnny M, and then he got diver.
Say a prayer for our buddy Johnny M, everybody.
Diverticulitis.
Having some issues with his guts.
Yeah.
And he's doing okay now, but keep him in your thoughts. So.
Yes.
But that's very cool. I'm glad you did that. That was good work.
Thank you, buddy.
Now,
I was hoping that Kevin would share it on his page. He liked every post so far, but he hasn't shared it himself.
Well, maybe he just needed to hear maybe he needs to hear the episode.
Well, they drove to Boston.
Here's
other day
something
after
about
I posted
here's something
it, so.
about people that are actually famous. They probably don't go on Facebook and care about how many likes that they have or have given, nor do they want to listen to themselves intro a recording that they listened to or made the night before.
As Kevin Smith said at the movie premiere the other night, he said, when the movie starts, I will be sitting in the theater at the back watching this movie as I have done every night of this tour because I am a huge Kevin Smith fan.
That's funny.
So
that is funny.
Maybe one day
I
to it.
do like the back and forth you had about you're just getting into you watching Tusk and that stuff, but not really having any clue about Dogma or any of the older stuff.
Yeah, until 2 weeks ago, I had no idea that Blunt Man and Chronic started in Chasing Amy. Like, I had no idea that that's where they came from. I thought it was just in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Now you know.
Now I know.
So Mike's here.
Mike is here.
Mike, let's talk about how you gentlemen know each other.
So I met Mike over, I think, 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's about that.
In the professional wrestling ring.
He was wailing on you inside the ring. We had about a 20-minute conversation before you got here, and I was like, Casey's going to get pissed because we're having this conversation and we're not recording it. But he made a comment, and it kind of seemed like, well, you asked because I know you wanted to know, like, when you were wrestling him.
Oh, yeah. I never knew if you really forgot everything or if you were just messing with me.
That was a gimmick.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think so. Because you were real good at not remembering.
Yeah.
I always did that in football, too. I would always say to Hurst, as soon as we got up to the line, what are we doing? Where are we going? Who are we hitting?
I remember the one match. It was at Northampton, and we got in there. And we did something. You go, and then? I'm like, what? And I do something else, and then? There's no and then. He sucked me right into it.
Now, Mike, you wrestled. Your name was martial law.
Yes.
What you want to tell us where and for who you were wrestling for the majority of your?
For the majority of it was EWF Hardway. I ran my own promotion for about 8 years, PXW. We'd only do 1 or 2 shows a year because
Is that Pennsylvania Extreme Wrestling? Is that what P?
Pro Excitement Wrestling.
Oh, okay. I f***ed that up, didn't I?
Yeah, a little bit. So, but there is a Pro
That's what I
Extreme.
get for. But not as good as.
No,
Right.
not near as good. We only ran a couple shows a year because the wrestling business there's a lot of shadiness going on.
Sure.
And guys would show up and not get paid, and I didn't want that to happen at our promotion. So if we booked somebody, we told them how much we were going to pay them. That's what they got paid when they got there, whether I had one fan in the crowd or not.
Sure.
A lot of places, the crowd wasn't too great tonight, so we can't. Well, you told me you were going to pay me this much, and now you're telling me you're paying me 0.
Right.
And I just went out there and put my body on the line for you, and I am doing it for fun. This is not my living, but someone's word is their word.
Sure.
Right.
So that's what we tried to do. Me and my tag team partner Lovebug, and another partner Sebastian McCool. We ran it together, and we ran good shows. We had decent crowds. We just didn't run enough to make a whole lot of money doing it.
Sure.
I mean, wrestling, you're going to make more money selling merchandise than you
Yeah.
are wrestling at the level we were at. We weren't wrestling for WWE every night and getting that $500 payday. But, I traveled a lot. I got to meet a lot of cool people. I have friends that I have had
And
since
people. Just people, too.
I've had friends that I've had since I started, and I'm in contact with most of the ones that I was close with. I don't always see them,
Sure.
but we keep in touch from here and there. And it was great seeing Casey. And we were over at a pizza place.
Yeah, Ozzy's, right? Is that what it was
It
called?
was Joey Peeps.
Joey Peeps,
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh,
no longer there.
183.
Nah.
Yeah.
Wawa now.
I boycotted the Wawa.
Did you?
I
Come
love
on.
Joey Peeps. I love
was-
the owners. They were great.
That was
Yeah, they
Dan
were.
and the coaches. They were buddies of mine.
Who?
Danny Kocha and Pat Kocha owned Joey Peeps.
Originally, and then it was Greg and Mike owned Ozzy's.
Okay.
They sold it to Tino,
Okay.
and Tino sold to Mike and why can't I remember her name?
I don't know.
She's a good friend. I can't. I just blank out. It's getting old. It's
I
age.
do that all the time.
We'll
Mike
edit,
and Sherry.
We'll edit her in.
Yeah, Mike and Sherry. Yeah. And when they got shut down there, I was heartbroken because the jail's right by there. So
Right. We used to go there with Kleiner pretty
Yep.
often.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw
that was
you
before
there.
it was Joey Peeps, so that was when it was still
Ozzy's.
Yeah, it was
Ozzy's,
Ozzy's, yeah. When they had the racetrack through there.
Yeah, the guys that I'm pretty sure the guys that there was a couple Joey Peeps. There was 2 or 3. There was one in 183. There was one in Hamburg.
Yeah, there wasn't one in Hamburg.
Yeah.
They had to shut that down. I couldn't get people.
Yeah.
People just didn't show up to work.
Well, and they
yeah.
the guy that I worked with in Reading he'd say like, "Oh, that Joey Peeps is great." You call them, and they screw your order up. You call them back the next night, and they give you 3 pizzas. It's like I haven't bought a pizza there in 3 weeks. It's like I keep getting free pizzas there. I was like, okay. So, but yeah, where was I? What was I going to ask before we got sidetracked with food?
Well, food.
God damn, that's all I was thinking about now.
I haven't had a good Italian sandwich since they closed.
Really? There's tons in Berks County, man. But
Yeah, but there's no place close.
yeah, you're
Because we don't venture far,
sure.
but there's no place close to get a good
How
Italian
about
sandwich.
the pizza shop there on the corner?
Piero's?
Yeah.
Never eat there.
No,
I will never eat there again.
no.
Got rotten food from there, and I boycotted for life.
There you go. I will-
Wawa, I've broken my boycott.
There you go.
But that place, no. Some guys have gone back there, but people have gotten bad salads from there. We got ham puffs with green ham in it. And
Ugh.
Gee,
I'm
How
funny.
about,
I'm funny about food.
the bar there.
Van Reed.
Yeah,
Reed?
Van Reed.
They changed ownership.
Yeah.
They used to have great Coney dogs. Like we go over on a Wednesday for Coney dogs, but I haven't been over there for a while.
Yeah, I know the well, I don't know him too well, but we actually stopped in there. Remember on the way home
Yeah?
from the wedding.
No, that was on the way to the wedding.
Oh right, yeah.
or to the reception.
Shoo,
Yeah.
hammered drunk. But yeah,
Hammered drunk.
that was probably the last time I was there. So that's 4 years ago. So 4.5 years ago.
Yeah, there's not
not
a
a whole lot
There's
going
not a
on
lot
there.
of places over there now.
No,
I mean-
Blue Marsh Canteen.
Yeah,
It's just
Penny
it's
Pino.
good. It's good, but it's not.
Yeah,
Like I was used to the bread and everything that they had.
yeah, they were a good shop. They made all their own bread, right?
No, they brought bread in. A lot of places that make their own bread, I don't like their bread because making bread's funny. Like you got to do it right.
So I'm going to say something, and it's going to hurt some feelings. It always does. But I feel very opinionated about my bread. Nino's sandwiches. Have you ever had a Nino's sandwich?
No.
Nino's is down here right across from George Field in Reading. Right, you take Fifth down. You hang a left, right.
Try to
at
stay out
Dunkin'
of
Donuts.
Yeah.
Well, it's
near-
right on the edge.
You know where Al's is?
Yeah.
It's right before
It's
Al's.
before.
I mean, because I passed it.
right, you know the sign.
Yeah.
Either way, they make their own bread, and it's this loaf of bread, and they put the meat inside of it, and then you have a loaf of bread, and it's too much bread. But everybody says, "Oh, they make their own bread. It's so it's too much bread." There's a point where I don't care that much about the bread. I like. Don't get me wrong. I like the bread. It's a nice crusty fucking case to keep the meat together while I'm eating it.
Their bread is good, but I will agree with you. It's too much.
It's
bread.
good if you're having it like with a veal parm.
Right.
I'll tear it apart and eat it like that. But it's not good with. I'm sorry, Nino.
It is a lot of bread.
I've been storing this up for a while. And you just triggered me.
Yeah.
So-
Bread is funny. It's got to be done right. I like hard rolls, but I don't like them too hard.
Right.
You know.
Are you a sesame seed guy?
No,
Me either.
No.
That threw me for a loop. A bunch of the places like Sonny's, real good sandwich down in like Limerick area. Delicious sandwich. They use Sarcone's bread because Sarcone's has a bakery right next to them. It's amazing bread, but I think they do seeded and without. And I made the mistake of having it seeded one day, and it the whole sandwich up.
Really?
Yeah, I just didn't.
used to be a place right here in Reading, Big Guys.
Mhm.
Cheesesteaks.
remember
Oh
that
my
one.
God, those were good. I don't care about the bread. The rest of it was awesome.
Yeah.
The Steak Shack in Reading, I think, or over on Lancaster Avenue now. I think they have the best cheesesteaks in around here.
It's hard. I don't know.
They're in a gas station now, so it's kind of like a little weird. I'm so hungry I could eat a sandwich from a gas station.
The place right across the street from the gas station, 724 there.
D&J.
Yeah, that's a
Very
good
good
sandwich.
shop. Yeah, very good.
That's a good sandwich. Devin brought cheesesteaks home from there a couple weeks ago. They were real good.
I remember when I came home from the Navy, a long time ago. The first time I came home, the first place I went was Jay's Steaks and stuff. I'm from the Allentown area, and there's only like one open anymore, or two maybe. But that was the shit right there.
Yeah,
I never heard of that.
me either.
Oh, their cheesesteaks were just the way the cheese melted into everything. I'm hungry now.
Yeah, I know, right. Well, we're gonna take a time out. So back to the podcast.
Yeah, Mike. What? It's been so long. What made you get into the wrestling business? I don't remember.
I always wanted to. When I was a kid, my grandfather passed away when I was 16. My grandfather was like my life. And when I was real little, before you had a remote control, he'd have his chair pulled up to the TV, and you had to click through because you had no remote control. And on Saturday mornings, he would click through, click. And the wrestler would come up, oh, watch out. And he's like, and he'd go, click. And he goes, oh, okay. And he wanted to watch it. He'd go back and we'd watch wrestling. We'd sit there. Now, we probably saw this show. My grandfather used to take me to Hamburg Fieldhouse one night, and we watched WWF. And then we'd go down to Allentown Ag Hall the next night, watch the same exact show, and root for it like we didn't know it was going to happen. And then we'd watch it on TV and do the same thing. We just root for it like we didn't know it was going to happen. And
So you were actually at the tapings, and then they'd play them on.
yes.
That's
I was
pretty cool.
there. Actually, Love Bug was too. The night that of the Coconut Smash,
Yeah,
we were both
that
there.
was at the Hamburg Fieldhouse.
No, that was at Allentown Ag Hall.
Oh shit.
And
What was the coconut smash?
oh,
Sorry, I'm a layman. I'm not. I've never.
Piper's Pit.
Okay.
Rowdy Piper smashed Superfly Snook over the head with a coconut.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Smashed it over
Yeah.
like a real coconut.
So we were in training one day, and we were telling stories like we always did. And I'm telling the story about how I was sitting there, like on the left-hand side of Piper's Pit, just outside the gate, and he smashed a coconut. I got cocoa juice on me. And I was just a little kid. I was like, yeah! And Love Bug's like, where were you sitting? because he was sitting on the right hand side.
That's great.
And because me and my tag team partner had no connection before we got into wrestling.
That's insane.
And like this connection goes back to like he was much younger than me, but
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's
so we
pretty
were
cool.
both there that night, and then we'd watch it on TV, and we'd watch the same thing. So I always had a love for it, and I always watched WWF on TV, and of course everybody wants to be in WWF, but I started going to some local shows. And it was just the interaction with the wrestlers was so more intimate than it is with WWF.
Right.
Because it's a smaller venue.
Sure.
And they're trying to promote themselves, so they want to.
They have to come out and get their own beer.
So after a while, I decided I wanted to do this. And I talked to somebody who said, well, I know these 2 wrestlers that are doing a celebrity bartender thing over at one of the Hosies in Reading. And I'll introduce you. So it was Doomsday Danny Rose and Pinky. So I go down and I meet with him, and Danny's like, he pretty laid back about it, and Pinky's like, all hyped up, and he's throwing himself and bumping on a concrete floor, and I'm like, dude, I ain't never doing that. And they put me in contact with Jake and Paul, Bad Crew, who trained me, and I went down and I talked to them, and it was right when they were opening their school, so it was a class with Mongoose. Mm-hmm. And, like, I wanted to pay everything up front. And we were just about ready to settle a contract. We were going to get back pay. I was going to take that money and pay it. And I said, they said, well, just make us payments to that. I said, I don't want to owe anybody money. So I waited, and I ended up in the second class. And that was Adam Tood and Love Bug.
Me?
You, Bart Scholl.
Wait, you guys trained together?
Yeah.
What the happened to you? He went on to
Yeah, I don't know.
Stop going.
You just faded out. You
I
just,
did. I
just got disinterested in it.
After Jake and Paul closed up, and I didn't. You know me. I'm not.
You have to hustle to get booked.
I'm comfortable with the people that I know.
Right.
But like traveling to like another promotion and shit, like it just wasn't.
And me and
Like
Love Bug
especially
did that.
by myself.
Right.
It wasn't something that like I was really like. I would go down to Darren's in York, but I knew all those guys. You
Yeah,
know, like
'cause
Danny
they-
and
yeah.
yeah.
Where
'Cause
did
they
I
were
drive you
wrestling.
in Allentown?
What
I drove you to a match or something in Allentown.
did you?
Yeah.
We wrestled all over. Well,
remember.
three different.
I don't know if it
places
was
in
a
Allentown
match.
we wrestled.
We
Castle Hill Ballroom.
Castle Hill Ballroom. The
this
one
is
near
more of a training
in Northampton.
facility, I think.
Well, that was
the Castle
that
Hill.
was BC Bumps. Well, BC Bumps was a training
DC
facility.
Bumps is what it was.
That's the
I remember
training
that name.
And we actually opened our training school at the same spot.
Oh yeah.
Because I think we went to see Murph at. Remember, he was working at like a hardware store or something there. He was dating a chick that worked at a hardware store in Allentown.
In Allentown.
Don't you remember this?
Not.
Oh
at
yeah,
all.
yeah. Definitely, dude.
I can understand your memory might be a little hazy from back then.
Mine's a little hazy from then as well. I can't lie, but I remember being in the car.
No, I don't remember that at all.
So
Not one bit.
The Garfield, that was the other place.
The Garfield, yeah, that was the one in Northampton,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And we ran shows there for a little bit after, like under PXW, and at the mostly at the Cement and Playground where they did the outdoor show. We ran them indoor there. And
Okay.
we had decent shows.
Yeah.
Like, and everybody liked working for us because there was no bullshit. Like, if we said this was going to happen,
I'd imagine column A you get paid, or column B you don't get paid. Maybe you don't get paid.
Well,
I would say go to column. You know, I'd
some
be
of
happy
the other
with column
promotions
A.
they were paying guys like $10. You're traveling
Right.
2 hours.
Beat your head in and drive.
I think
to
most I
Allentown.
ever got paid was 25.
Really?
Yeah. Like
Me and actually we went up to Boston, and we worked up in Boston. We do 2 nights in a row up there, and it was for a guy, and Love Bug. If he was here, he as soon as I do the voice, he starts laughing. And we actually met later on in life. We met Al Snow, and Al Snow. We were talking about. We were at a place. We were actually down at Darren's. We went to a bar afterwards, and we're having dinner, and everybody's all around, and Al Snow hears us doing a voice, and he comes over. He goes, "What the f?" And he goes, you know, what I forget what the dude's name was, but we were like, this guy in Boston is like, I don't know, Quack and the Pennsylvania Boys made it. Why didn't you make it? And it's like the whole thing, and every time it was like, yeah, that's a wicked pisser. Like the accent and everything is right outside of Boston. But the guy was the weirdest dude in the world. But he always tried to get out of paying you too. Like we'd come up, they'd put us in a hotel overnight, and the second night, like the show wasn't over till like midnight, and he told us he'd give us a hotel for the second night, and then like he goes, "What, you staying?" "Yeah, we're staying. You said we had a hotel for 2 nights." "Well, why the you don't drive home?" "Because it's 9 hours and it's midnight." And he's like, "Well, I could give you an extra $20 for a hotel."
Oh my God!
Yeah, so we took the $20 and rolled home.
Jeez.
But yeah, what the heck was his name? Sparta.
Sparta.
Mike Sparta. "Yeah, this is Mike Sparta. You coming up or what?" Ugh.
So when did you start? When did you start PXW? After Jake and Paul closed, I guess.
Yeah, it was 2000, 2001. We actually ran a show at the Reading Fair. Another promotion ran a show at the Reading Fair a few years later, and they said it was the first wrestling at the Reading Fair. No, it wasn't.
Liars.
The first wrestling at the Reading Fair was PXW. We brought Hacksaw Jim Duggan in. We had Z was down, Hungarian Barbarian. Pinky was there. I think Doomsday was there.
Nice. Another one in our class was D-Man Davidson.
D-Man.
I can't remember his real name.
Dennis.
Dennis, yeah.
I keep in touch with him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. And Pat, I know you don't like him that much.
Nope. Me and Pat did not see eye to eye. Like when Jake and Paul weren't in the ring, the trainers, they would have either Mongoose or me and Lovebug do this stuff with the class. We'd go through the stuff, and and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed teaching wrestling, and this Pat kid, he just, he wasn't a bad guy, but he was all about him. And when he was in the ring, he didn't want anybody else doing anything. He wanted to do his thing. He didn't want to listen to. And I'm trying to tell the dude, Jake and Paul wanted us to do this. Right. This is what he instructed us to do. These are our trainers.
The whole thing looks like shit if it's one-sided. I mean, like, it's not really
Well, just the training aspect, doing the squats and the rolls. And this is what Jake and Paul wanted us to do. And he'd be like, I don't do this. And, like, it pissed me off because the dude would do flips off the rope, which is cool. But, like, he didn't have near as much time as me, and there was another promotion that booked him first. And I used to go to this promotion. I worked security for him. I ran the gate for him. I did whatever they need. I set up rings. I set up chairs, took down tables. This kid wouldn't do nothing, and they book him because he'd do a flip off the rope.
Yeah.
And that annoyed me. Now, when they did book me, they gave us a great push, and the paying your dues, paid off for me.
Did you ever try to do a flip off the rope?
I do.
Dude,
I do.
he
Off the top rope.
Dude, if I propelled myself, first of all, if I was on the top rope of anything, get me off or get the out of the way. And if then you see me try to jump off of that rope, call the paramedics immediately.
I was there the first time you ever did it.
I did a swanton off the top rope, and the guy who talked me into it was William Kinney, Tiny. Tiny said, just because you're a big guy doesn't mean you can't do this stuff. You just got to do it smarter because you don't want to get hurt. So we were at the Garfield, and they had set the ring up, and Tiny says, go up and try it. Just go up and jump off. And I went up there, and I stood up there for a second. I lost my balance. I jumped down. And he goes, do it again, dude. You can do it. You were up there for like 10 seconds. You can do it. So I went up, and I just went, whoosh, did it. And like he goes, that's your finish tonight. Not because I didn't hit it. Like the first 100 times I did it, I never hit it on anybody. They always moved out of the way.
Yeah.
I
moved the out of the way too.
And when I did it, I was like, yeah, that was awesome. So that was always my thing. I do a sidewalk slam, boom, set them down, put them where I want them, go up to the top rope. You want to see the big guy fly? I get up, I do the swan. They'd move. I go, sell it back. And the first time I hit it, I can remember it was we were at a WWWA show, Dino Santa, and there was a guy, the giant leprechaun. What was his name?
I don't remember him.
The giant leprechaun.
He come out in a
his fucking.
It was
gimmick.
It was like Patty O'Brien or something like that. The giant leprechaun. He would come out in a green leprechaun outfit with a shillelagh, and he was huge. He towered over me. It was awesome. It was great to work with him.
That's amazing.
So he said, well, "What's your finish?" Because I was going over, and I'm like, "Well, I usually do a swanton, but I've never hit it." And he goes, "Do that tonight." I'm like, "Dude, I've never hit it on anybody. It's always been a miss." He goes, "You could do it." So I went up, I did it, and when I hit him, I planted my head right in his chest. You can hear the air. You can hear the air come out of him. And usually, like my neck and shoulders would come across him, but I'd spin at the last moment, and you could just hear. I'm like, oh my God, I killed him. So we go to the back. I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. He goes, nah. He goes, I told you to hit it. You told me it was the first time. He goes, just don't ever hit nobody smaller than me like that. You'll kill him. And ever since then, like everyone,
go right through him.
I'd go up and like the guys would get scared. No, I don't want to take that. I'm like, dude, I won't touch it. I promise. I promise you won't feel a thing. Because after that, I made sure I got it down. I had Love Bug laid down and kept on doing it. And I might have stiffed him a couple times on purpose because it was Love Bug. But, I finally did it, and I just kept doing it, and that was our finish for the longest time.
Yeah.
Even as a tag team, we did a double.
Yeah.
Where he would do it off the second rope, and I'd do it on the top rope.
I'd imagine he's not a small dude.
No.
That Slim Trim 185 was his. That was his booked weight.
Yeah, we worked for EWF, so he was every woman's fantasy. So we made an EWF shirt with every woman's fantasy on it, and he sold a ton of those.
That's funny.
And yeah, he's a Slim Trim 185. And he'd come, and the thing is, he'd come out, and that's a great thing about wrestling. You don't have to be the best technical wrestler in the world, but if you can come out and you believe it, and you make the crowd believe, he would come out and believe he's 185 pounds. He hasn't seen 185 pounds since he left the crib. But he'd come out and he'd sell it. And he'd be Mr. Slim Trim 185, every woman's fantasy, and he'd throw his arms out, and we came out to the stupidest music. I hated the music we came out to. We came out to Bop, which was horrible. But at the end of our match, our tag team matches, we'd have all the kids up in the ring and dance with it, which I love. Even when we were heels, we did that. Like, in the wrestling business, you have babyface and heel. And at intermission, you're signing autographs, or after the show, you're signing autographs, even as a heel every time. And that's why I felt that independent wrestling was more intimate than WWE, because every time I was a heel, I was just a mean bad guy that would stand there. I'd come in and cheat, and Love Bug would win. And they would ask me for an autograph. I'd say, thank you. Every time. Thank you. And I was supposed to be this mean guy, but thank you for asking me for my autograph. I'm nobody.
Right.
The fans are what make wrestling great.
Sure. Goes back to you being a kid sitting next to your grandfather.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
And it's just, we had good times.
That's awesome.
I miss it greatly.
So do I, man. After starting to watch AEW again,
I really think my dad ruined it for me when he told me it wasn't real.
Watch your tongue.
it's still real to me, damn it.
I'm just saying he said that. I didn't say that. I can give you his address.
So, Jim,
He's coming for you, Dad.
you might not even know what a swanton dive is. Do you know what that is? What he was talking about, his finish?
You ever see Matt or Jeff Hardy?
It's
just straight faced into the mat, right?
No, it's a dive. It's a swan dive off the top rope, but at the last second,
You do a little
flips and hits him with the head
on the back side of him. Like you
he
jump,
flips on the.
So you put the person down flat, and then you come over this way.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a pretty good picture, actually. What was this? Tim Walker.
Sweet Jesus.
Tim Walker was a professional photographer. He took his pictures for PWI, and I have a picture that he took of me doing it up in Palo Alto.
Nice.
It's a great. I'm like this high, and the other guy's like way down there. It's just an awesome picture.
That's awesome.
I don't know if I ever took one of those or not, because we worked each other quite a few
took one.
times. Yeah, I think
You
I
did.
did. Yeah. Smoked a lot of weed.
Jesus Christ.
I did other drugs back then too. So
the whole time that you're wrestling, you're also a guard.
Yes, I've been a corrections officer for 30 years.
wow.
Yeah, wow. I'm tired of it.
I was going to
All
say,
right.
don't you get
I'm
like a
over it.
fucking golden watch and a handshake soon? Like
I wish. I don't have the age, because I started in corrections when I was 19 years old. By the way, anybody think about starting in corrections at 19? Don't. It's way too young. I knew everything.
Yeah.
I had been in the military, so I was a military guy, and I knew everything. I was 19 years old. I've been on my own since I'm 16. I was emancipated at 16. So like from 16 years old on, and even before that, because I came up in some turbulent
I'd
circumstances.
imagine you didn't just get to 16 and be like, I'm ready to go now. Like,
No, there was
doesn't usually work like that.
There was abuse. There was
Sure.
drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and I just wanted no more part of it. And we were in court, and I just walked up to the judge and I filed emancipation paperwork. And as long as I checked in with a social worker, maintained my grades, and worked, because I was working, and I was working good. I was working co-op from doing computer programming, and he said, as long as you do that, you're fine. So school, because I still was young and very stupid and an asshole, and school would never turn me in for skipping school. So I took advantage of it because they knew the situation I came from and where I'd end up if and we were in a country school. There wasn't many people in my position. And so I skipped like 30-some days my senior year, and I have on my report card is perfect attendance.
Yeah, there you go.
So
when you were
You're there in
16,
spirit.
did you move? Were you living by yourself then, or?
I lived with a couple different friends for a little bit, and then I was by myself.
Wow.
I had my own place, supported myself. I had a girlfriend who was a couple years older, and she took care of a lot of stuff, but pretty much I was just doing my thing.
Wow.
And I'm not a what if person. I don't say, well, what if I go back? Because I was a football player too, and I messed up any chance for a scholarship because I had a piss poor attitude. And I don't go back and say, well, if I had changed my attitude, then I would have got my scholarships, and I could have played pro ball. I don't know. I could be doing this. I could be doing this. I don't do that because every decision and everything that happened in my life, including the abuse, brought me to where I am now. I have 2 awesome kids. I have a wife that I've been married to for almost 30 years. And she's okay too. But,
She puts up with you wrestling.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
pretty
and
fucking amazing.
She was not a fan of the
I
wrestling,
can't imagine she would be.
but she did. She knew it made me happy.
Sure.
It was from working in a jail, which is a very high stress situation. It was a great stress reliever to go out on the weekend and just pound on people
the living hell out of
without getting
somebody.
arrested for it.
That was going to be one of my questions. Like, does the work lend itself? I would assume that you go to work and you see all this shit that you'd love to just. I'd imagine there's a couple people that you just love to just bash over the skull. But at least you get the chance to bash somebody over the skull on the weekend when you do some wrestling.
Oh, and corrections, the worst you have is sex offenders, child molesters. I don't want to know anybody's charge. The fact is, the job that I have now, the people under my care, I know their charges. But because of the job I do now, I don't get any sex offenders, which is good because I don't want to know that. I don't want to know what they're in for. My job is not to judge them for their
just
crimes.
to make sure they don't do anything.
My job is
stupid.
to make sure that they don't get out and hurt anybody else while they're supposed to be there.
Right.
Care, custody, and control of sentenced and non-sentenced inmates, blah, blah, blah. But, and I take that seriously.
Sure.
Like, to me, it's God, family, my job. And, my job supports my family. And so I don't ever want to do anything that's going to take away from that.
Sure.
And so I'm very serious about I try to have fun all day. I'm just the kind of person that I'll bust your chops. If you don't like it, you could let me know. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop,
Right.
but I'll be more cognizant that you don't like it.
I'm aware of it.
Yeah,
now.
I'm aware that you don't like me busting my chop.
So it may or may not be a beneficial reaction.
If you're offended by something I say, I'm sorry you're offended.
Yeah,
I'll try not to say it again, but I'm not going to make any
Yeah.
promises because I am me and I'm going to be me.
Right.
And I've always been that way. I've pissed a lot of people off over the years. Me and Danny Rose had a little dust up at one point, but in the end, Danny's a good guy. I love the dude. And it's just like wrestling as a family, so we had that. And the guys I work with, close every day, they're family too. Like, I have a guy that I work with every day. He's getting ready to retire. He's like a brother to me. When he retires, I'm going to be lost.
Yeah.
Because he puts me in check a lot and tells me, hey, Mike, you're being an asshole. I'm like, okay. I'll pull back a little bit. Sometimes I need that. I go back to my old ways and be an old Mike.
I'm going through that same situation. I had a long-term GM that just retired. And he was the one to say, okay, you're being a dick. Like, stop being a dick now. Now I have to check myself and go to I'm sorry for being a dick.
Well, we did a project up at the renovation project, and me and a couple of the guys were involved in it, and they would actually bring Jolly Ranchers to the meeting that I would have to put in my mouth so I wouldn't say one guy at the table would start talking, they'd slide me a Jolly Rancher. I put it in my mouth and it would keep my mouth shut.
That's brilliant.
And every once in a while, they had to kick me under the table and say, they just give me a look. Or the deputy warden at the time, she would just shoot me a look. Like, really? I'm like, it's like getting scolded by your mom. But, sometimes you just need to be reminded that you work in corrections, and even in wrestling business, you have no filter.
Right.
you don't have feelings because you can't.
I was a roofer I've been a roofer
Right,
for 20 years, dude.
Yeah.
There's no filter, no feelings.
No, and if you have feelings, you're in the wrong. We tell people if they come in our office, if you have feelings, leave them at the bottom of the hill, or don't come in this office because I'm not gonna stop being me because you want to be offended by everything. So this society right now with everybody being offended,
Oh, man.
it annoys me, and I'm sure people around me get annoyed because I don't care if you're offended.
Yeah. How do you think comedians feel now?
Oh, it's horrible,
Dude.
You can't do anything.
F&M Friday night, they had like a couple dozen kids sat on the basketball court, and they had to postpone and almost, I guess, cancel the basketball game, a collegiate basketball game, because kids were pissed because other kids were wearing costumes, like Mexican and Native American costumes. So they had to sit in and force the school to cancel the basketball game Friday night in F&M in Lancaster.
There's a point of being intentionally hurtful to somebody, or somebody being hurt.
It's f***ing Halloween.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I dressed up like a fucking disgusting, I just put like a porn star wig on. I probably offended somebody. You're not going to get away with it. You can't make everybody happy all the time.
No,
So,
and now you can't make anybody happy.
right.
No.
Because if I come in here and I say something and you're not offended and he's offended, now I'm supposed to stop talking because he's offended. Well,
Right.
I honestly don't care if you're offended.
And
That's not the way this show works, Mike.
I never have been that person, and that's shown with I'm known as kind of a hard ass, or I could be a prick in the wrestling business because I when I run shows, they got to be a certain way.
Sure.
And
You're putting your name on them.
right, and it's like that because not just for me, and it is my name out there, but it's because this is what I want our company to represent.
Sure.
We did family-friendly shows. You didn't use profanity on the mic, and for me, that's a big rule because I'm the worst person with language. Like, I'm horrible. But when we ran shows, I never used that bad language because I want a show that I could bring my kids to.
If you're talking about having a bunch of kids there, I mean, yeah, there's no place for that. I don't want to.
So when someone used bad language on my show, I took their stuff and I threw it out the locker room into the street because you were told.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that I shouldn't have to tell you twice.
Right.
But that person then badmouthed me that I was an asshole, and then you get a reputation in the business. And I honestly didn't care what people thought about me, other than I knew what I wanted, and that's it.
Right.
So
And you were a good worker too, so it didn't matter really
right.
how you were anywhere else. You're still a good worker, you know.
So it's weird. It's like anything else. I miss it, but I see what's going on in independent wrestling now, and I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of these young kids coming up that don't have to pay their dues. We paid our dues.
Yeah, we
We
did.
paid our dues 10 times over. And these guys think that they can walk into a show, automatically get booked. I still have people contact me. Is PXW running a show? I want to get booked. I'm like, well, what have you done for me?
Right.
Like, all my guys that were booked were selling tickets for me, putting up ring, tearing down ring, and we did everything. We did video, we did audio.
Right.
We had everybody had an entrance video at one point, and it wasn't all me. There was other people in the organization doing stuff. Wyndham James Winthorpe did a lot of the video stuff for me because he enjoyed it. He still does it. But, that kept him booked. Not because he wasn't a good worker, because he was an idiot, and I'm just going to, if you could do this for me, I'm going to book you. He wanted the company to succeed.
Right.
Right.
And that's what I wanted as my workers. And so these random people come up to you, I want to get booked. I'm like, well, how many tickets are you going to sell?
Right.
Because if you can't draw people, you're already one step down. Now, if you're willing to come in and learn and do this and that, then okay, well, we'll give you a shot. And I was always about giving someone a shot, but there has to be a quid pro quo.
There's a level of entitlement now.
Yeah.
That
Oh my gosh, it's horrible.
it's unbelievable. And it's not just. I mean, it's everywhere.
It
It's
is.
every facet of every kind of industry, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Your shirt. Are you? Is that the Blue Knights?
That's the Blue Knights, yes.
You ride too, huh?
Yes.
What do you ride?
I have a '99 Yamaha V-Star that I took apart and I rebuilt as it looks like a Street Glide.
Nice. Big bike.
Yeah, it looks like a big bike. It's really not. It sucks gas because I did so much stuff to it. I took the air cleaner off. I have what they call beer cans, air cleaners right on top of the carbs. So it just like I increased my horsepower by like 30%.
Right.
But it sucks gas like you wouldn't believe because I had to rejet the carbs. And this is stuff that I didn't know how to do. Like I had never rejetted a carb.
Right.
And the first time I did it took me like 3 hours. And then I had to redo it 2 more times because I changed the air cleaner. I put new pipes on it. And then when I rejet it the third time, it took me half hour. So, you know, you learn. I look it up, learn how to do it,
Right.
and do it. But it has a Harley front fairing on it. With the inner fairing, I made all fiberglass. I have 4 speakers across it and my stereo in it. And I have Harley bags on it, so I had to make the brackets for it. I lowered it. I raked it.
So you have like a custom dresser.
It is. It's a custom. For all intents, and I hydro dipped everything. I didn't know how to hydro dip.
Shit.
So I learned. I made a hydro dip tank. I learned how to hydro dip, and I did it. And
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
you spray it with paint, and then you take a film and you put it on top of water. You activate it, and you have to dip it into the water, and the film adheres to the paint.
We'll show you a video of it
Okay.
after the podcast. You can do just about anything.
Yes.
You can dip into a tank of water.
My holster is hydro dipped. You spray it, and you have to dip it, and you got to do it quite.
Everything's fucking Evil Knievel hydro dip now from here on out. You know,
They have the Evil Knievel.
everything. I'm telling you, that's why I probably haven't brought it to his attention yet. But now everything in this fucking room is going to be hydro dipped. Fucking Evil Knievel.
But
or
it's not
Grateful Dead.
a simple process. You have to do it right. So some of the things I messed up, well, then I had to airbrush it. So I had to learn how to airbrush flames
Jesus.
because I did flames on it, and like I had to finish off the pattern that's on it. So I had to finish it off, and I figured that out. It looks okay. I notice all the errors
Sure.
in it, but other people see it and they think it looks good.
Sure.
That's awesome.
So what is the Blue Knights? What is
The
that?
Blue Knights is a law enforcement motorcycle club. It's all law enforcement or retired law enforcement corrections. We raise money and we donate it to charities.
Cool.
A lot of fallen officer families from fallen officers. We donate some money to the kids club or the Olivet
Sure.
Boys and Girls Club a couple years ago. Then we went down and we presented them with a check. We took our bikes down, had the kids come out and look at the bikes, and that's always cool. You get to, meet the people who are benefiting from the stuff. We do rides every year. We do a poker run.
A couple weeks ago when you were late here and you
That-
were behind a couple hundred motorcycles,
That was them.
I believe that they were probably at the front of that pack.
Sure.
Oh yeah, I didn't go to that ride,
Oh,
but yeah,
okay.
that was the POWMIA ride.
Yeah.
And that's always a huge ride. Like
Yeah,
they do
tell me
that.
about
They
it.
did when I did it before. They did it in 2 sections. We went from here to someplace, and then from someplace, and we escorted the memorial, the Vietnam Memorial, the
Oh,
portable
it came
one.
out of
When we
yeah.
escorted that from one point in the county to another.
Cool.
We've done parades, but mostly we just raise funds, and then we find charities that align with our law enforcement background and,
Sure.
and give to that. And I enjoy doing that. I go on mission trips, which is not part of Blue Knights, but like I just like giving back. I learned how to do a lot of stuff. I teach myself a lot of stuff.
It would seem.
I built my own house. I never built a house before, so I wanted to learn. How to,
I mean, okay. An hour ago, we were talking about you're keying green screens. 10 minutes ago, we were talking about hydro dipping and then airbrushing, and now you're building homes.
yes, anything I want to do.
You looking to join a podcast?
I can't see myself paying someone to do something I can learn to do
Sure.
myself. So when
And now with the advent of like YouTube,
Oh, yeah. YouTube's awesome.
It's impossible to not learn something.
Right.
if there was no YouTube, I never hydro dipped.
Right.
Because that's how I watched hundreds of videos of hydro dipping before I even tried to dip one thing.
I think that's what stops me from getting a lot of shit done. I'll watch so many fucking videos
people
trying to make sure I'm like, they're doing it differently than the last 90 videos. Like, what do I do now?
But when I built my house, YouTube was around, but
Sure.
like there wasn't a whole lot of
Yeah,
home
I don't know
building
about
on
building
it.
a house.
They do just a lot now. There's a lot of construction stuff on there now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like I make Adirondack chairs with the Punisher skull on the back, and I didn't know how to do this or this, so I go on there and I'm like, oh, how do I do this? And I'll watch a video and I'm like, that didn't look right. I'll watch another video. Yeah, that seems better. You know, because I made my own pattern. Like even when I built my house, I drew my own drawings. I'm not an architect,
Right.
and I'm like worried that they won't accept the drawings because I actually brought them up on a computer. I used a program. Everything was to
You just gotta
scale.
get an architect to sign off on them.
Yeah, then when I turned them in, no. When I turned them in, he goes, "Oh, you could have given them to me on a napkin as long as the dimensions are right." In my township, in different townships of different ways, and I'm like, I made like they were like signed and sealed copies.
Yeah,
they weren't signed and sealed, but I had like 7 copies of each for them, and because I know what from my research, that's what you had to turn in. Well, in our township, you know, and then like the code inspection people would come, and they didn't use a local code inspection guy. They used a company out of Horsham. And the first guy that came up looked at it. I don't like touching live electricity.
Man, that's one thing I don't.
I'll
fuck
run
with
wires
either.
all day
That's a
long.
really good.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't.
Good thing to live by.
if a circuit is live,
Yeah.
I'll get zapped just standing by it. If you're working on it, I'm going to get zapped. Because I just have that luck. So I had to run a new line into my house. We're upgrading the service. So they disconnected me at the pole. I put my box on. I do everything. The aluminum wire that comes in from the PP&L, you have to have Nolex on it, which is it prevents it from basically rusting, from oxidizing. So the guy comes to do my inspection, and he walks up and he goes, "Hey, what's that gray stuff on the wires?" I said, "Get off my property." You're an electrical inspector. You don't know what Nolex is? Get off of my property. So I sent him packing, and I called the company, and they're like, well, why'd you kick him off? I said, he asked me what the gray stuff was on the aluminum wire. Yeah, we'll send someone else up. So a couple hours later, another guy comes in, and then he's like, well, we'll send you the card. You'll have your electricity back next week. I'm like, no, you'll leave the card here. PP&L's waiting for me to call. I'm going to hook up.
Yeah.
Like, I have a well. I have a well that services my house and someone else's. Without my power, the well don't operate.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, no, you got to wait for the card. I'm like, just sign the card and leave it here. So before he even left, I had PP. The guy says, I'm right up the road to come down and connect you again. And the guy was real cool. My kid was real small, and he's out. It was a warm day, and my son's out there, and he's making
Arcs.
little, I don't know, like Gatorade pouches that he have on a truck. And my son's drinking Gatorade with the guy. And this other guy's like, I can't believe he did that. I'm like, as long as you say it's inspected, that's all I need.
Yeah.
You know? And I had that company. I was the last house in our township that they used that company for because there were so many problems with them. Like, they have like 30 days to approve your permit. Like 60 days later, I'm ready to start my project because I start everything early. I got here early. And they're like, I call them up. I said, where are my permits? And they're like, well, the guy who's doing your permits had a death in his family. And I said, I don't seem to be insensitive.
That's not
But
my problem.
how the the death in his family stop my project from going on? Your company.
He's the only person that works for the company.
No. He just had my plans. And they said, well, yeah, I understand. And I'm like, well, I need my permits. I said, I'm starting tomorrow. I said, according to the law, after 30 days, I'm considered approved unless you send me a denial. You have not sent me a denial. I'm going to start. And they said, well, we'll get your permit signed and sent up to you, and you can start. So 2 days later, after they dug for the footer, I called them for an inspection, and the guy starts screaming at me, you don't even have your permits yet? I said, don't make me come down there, dude. Just don't. I said, I was told I could start, that my permits were on the way. Well, they're not even signed off on yet. I said, well, you better sign off on them and send someone up for the... So the guy who comes for the inspection was the guy who had a death in his family.
Yeah.
So he comes up, and there's a little... It rained as he's coming up the driveway. There's a little water in the bottom of the footer. You can't have standing water in a footer. He failed it, and he said, you got to wait until the water drains and call me back. I'm like, when's that going to be? He goes, I don't know. How the f*** does water in your hole affect the way I do my job? Touche. So they sent someone up 2 days later.
Yeah, always be careful what you say out loud.
That stuck me right back.
Yeah, you got me. That's
Oh
funny.
man. So where's that at? Where's your house? Up.
We're between Auburn and Deer Lake.
Oh, okay.
We got 4 acres out there.
My girlfriend lived in Auburn for quite a while.
My aunt did too. Oh, that's right.
I'm dating his aunt.
Oh. 10-4.
Where'd you grow up at?
I grew up in the New Tripoli area, Gurmansville.
Okay.
And then my grandparents had a house. It was in the city, but it was on South Mountain. They had an acre lot in the city, which is odd for Allentown. But they were on the edge of Salisbury Township. So you go across the street, it was Salisbury Township, and they were on the very edge of the city. So I spent a lot of time in Allentown, spent a lot of time in the country doing country shit.
Yeah. Cool, man. And you mentioned earlier it goes God, family, work.
Yeah.
So your Instagram handle is Mission Mike.
Yes.
How did you get into all that with traveling around and?
About 5 years ago, my uncle, my wife's uncle, and aunt have been on mission trips to Puerto Rico and stuff, and I've always wanted to do it. I'd done local stuff, help people out, friends helping friends, stuff like that. And he said, look, they have a mission trip coming up to Alaska. FEMA is paying the airfare and housing you while you're there, so it doesn't cost anything. I'm like, well, let me see if I can get time off. So you had to go, I think it was like 16 days, almost 3 weeks. So we went up and we framed 4 houses.
You and
the team that was up there. We had a small team from here, and then
your wife stayed behind?
Yeah, my wife. She went on one mission trip with me. It was to St. Croix. It was too hot for her. She doesn't really.
She wasn't into Alaska.
No, but it was beautiful up there. I loved it. Like flying in there was great. We were at an old Air Force base up there. That's where we were housed. They had FEMA. It was like a FEMA tent city.
Sure.
The dreaded FEMA tent city. They fed us well. They had materials brought in on barges or flown in because we were in the middle of nowhere. And my uncle, two other friends, my aunt, and then there was a group from Ohio there. We were the first ones in, and we framed 4 houses in 6 days.
No shit.
Yeah. Now, they were truss framed houses, and one of the guys is a crane operator, so they had a lull, and he showed me how to rig them up. So we pick up 3 at a time, drop them on, and then all we have to do is spread them out. And actually, the people who built or who designed the houses came and filmed us putting the house together.
To use you as a template.
Because nobody else had done it that way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
what, they take one up at a time? Or what?
Well, the one that took them like 3 weeks to put up, and we had 4 framed in 6 days.
Yeah.
And then, because we were there for 3 weeks, it was like, what are you going to do for the rest of the time? So we just started working ahead. Well, we got them so far ahead, they use spray foam in all the houses up there because the heating system they had was set for a spray foam house, and it would use 100 gallons of fuel oil for a year at -40 and -50 temperatures, which is amazing. So, but everything is completely airtight.
Right.
And then they have an air exchange thing, so you don't get all the stale air. But so we started working ahead. Well, the spray foam people were like scheduled for week 6, and by the time we left, they were ready for spray foam.
Wow.
So like, the next team that came in, they did other stuff.
Sure.
But
They didn't frame houses.
they didn't frame houses. So
That's awesome.
So that got me into it. The following year, we went to Saipan, which is in the South Pacific. It's in Northern Marianas Islands. It's a U.S. protectorate, and they had hit by.
That explains why you were at the prison in Saipan.
Yes.
Okay.
So everything's through FEMA or what?
Well, that one, FEMA, that was extended recovery. So FEMA would pay invitational travel. So they would pay for your travel to the place because there's not enough people on the island to help everybody who needed help. Mm-hmm. So they'd pay your travel to get there. Mennonite Disaster Services actually was on the ground there with an organization called CARE that was on the island. And between them, they would pay for all the materials, and MDS would house us. They had 2 houses rented to FEMA, and they basically put mattresses on the floor all over this house, and that's where we slept. And then, so we were there for 3 weeks, and then the following year, some of the people who were in Alaska and in Saipan were asked to come to St. Croix because they got hit by the hurricane down there. And so my wife went along with that one, but my wife, she doesn't realize how much help she is when, like, if you're cleaning up the job site, if you're taking the drop off pieces and putting on separating stuff, that's a huge help because that's time I don't have to spend.
Sure. Just cleaning up.
Right.
Cleaning up. But she felt like she wasn't doing enough, and it was too hot for her, and so it's just not her bag. She's not handy. She likes painting, and that's about it. So we were there. My uncle went along with that one again. He went to Saipan with me, and so did one of the other guys that went to Alaska. And then there's a group in Orwigsburg called Team Orwigsburg, who after that trip I joined them, and they do a lower 48 mission trip.
Okay.
So the year I joined them, they went down to West Virginia, and they went to West Virginia the second year. The first year I wasn't able to go along. The second year we went down to West Virginia. We built 3 bridges for homes that were from flooding. That the bridges down there, it was like a tube in the ground with some stone over it, and it was washed away, or it was 70 years old and it was just a post and some cement. And
Sure.
So we went down. We have these engineered bridges that we went down with. That we build the stuff here, take it down, and we put them into place.
It.
And then we had to do the odds and ends of digging the abutments and pouring the abutments and stuff, and then the erosion cages on the sides. So they do that. That was a week and a half. They do a week every year. The following year, we went to Bradford County in Pennsylvania. They had flooding up there. We did 2 bridges up there and a home for a lady who had been flooded and had a fire, and she had her grandkids were living with her, and her house was in bad shape, and we did a lot of work up there, and redid her roof. I've never seen so many layers on a roof, and by this time I've had my knees replaced. I'm not real good on ladders, and I don't have ACLs anymore. When they take you replace your knees, so your stability's not quite there. So standing on a roof and balancing
Side to
myself
side, back and forth, not so much.
At the end of the day, my knees would hurt so bad. So I did a lot of ground stuff for the. I did go up on the roof and help, but my uncle, who's much older than me, was up there and he just busted out, and 2 of the boys, the grandkids, were there the first weekend we were there, and they helped us all weekend, and that's always great to see because they were involved in the project. They wanted to be up on the roof. They wanted to do this. Same thing in Saipan. One of the grandsons of the house we built from the ground up. The first time we were there, the grandson was there every day working with us.
Cool.
And I went this time to Saipan with one of my coworkers, and I fell in love with the island, and the people there are just so cool. And one of the other people that was there, he says, I don't understand why these people don't help themselves. Well, there's so much to do. You just don't know where to start. And if you don't have those skills, it's hard. But when we were at the one house, this old guy, he's got like stage 4 cancer, but he was there he would sweep up. He would hold boards for us if we needed him help. He was a cool dude. And then the second house we went to, the owner's boyfriend and one of her sons was there every day. That they work, some days, but every day that it could be there, they were there, and they were just a huge help, just carrying stuff out, and what do you need me to do, and like I still rap with him every once in a while on Messenger.
Cool.
He sent me pictures of the house because we left before that house was done. Mm-hmm. They sent me pictures of the house dedication when we turned the house over to the homeowner's dedication.
Nice.
So St. Croix was Lutheran Disaster Services was on the ground there. Back in Saipan again. This when I just came back from, it was Mennonite Disaster Services again, and when we went to Alaska, it was pretty much through UMVM, which is United Methodist Volunteers in Mission. Okay. And while it sounds as very religiously based, and not everybody who goes is religious, it's just people who just want to, help other people and do stuff. And I am religious, but the people who get involved with Team Orwigsburg, they're not all, regular churchgoers, but it is a faith-based.
Sure.
Whatever your faith is, I don't judge anybody for their faith.
It would seem not. I mean, you're Mennonite. You just rattled off Mennonite,
Lutheran,
and the third one,
Methodist.
Yeah. So it seems like you're just tied in with really good people, and it doesn't really matter who's getting it together.
Team Orwigsburg is going to be going to North Carolina in April, so I'll be going down there and in April and doing what we can. They're still feeling effects from hurricanes and flooding and stuff. It's there's a lot of
Always
people who
something,
need
man.
help. Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
always
shit's-
something.
Yeah, the weather and shit has been crazy everywhere.
The Saipan is open through April as well. So one of my coworker who went with me would like to go back. I'd love to go back. I just don't know if I can get it done by April.
Sure.
Like I get 5 weeks vacation at my job, so taking the time off's not really an issue.
Right.
I don't mind using my vacation to go do that because
Sure.
2 years ago when we were in Saipan, it was the first time I ever scuba dived. I fell in love with scuba diving there.
Nice.
I went diving twice, and then when we went to St. Croix, I made sure I went scuba diving, but it was a discovery dive. Now I'm certified. So when I went back this time I got to do a wreck, a plane wreck, and a shipwreck.
Very
Nice.
cool.
And I saw a shark.
Nice.
It's cool. I love sharks.
Yeah.
Let's talk about street food real quick in Saipan.
Okay.
Like, I'm assuming in a smaller Southeast Asian.
A lot of Asian.
So that's why I figured it was a lot of Asian food. But I mean,
Well, Saipan is actually the Hawaii for Korea, China, and Japan.
So it's expensive.
It is unless you're a local. Now, the first time we were there, everybody considered us locals.
Right.
Like, if we would go into a restaurant, they'd ask if you were a local. And
Oh, really? So it's not like here where like you go to Philly and you go to a dive bar and you're a local.
no,
and,
no.
And like
you went to we went to Hard
everyone-
Rock Cafe in Saipan, and they said, "Are you guys locals?" And we're like, "No, we're not from here. We're here with Mennonite Disaster Services and FEMA, helping with disaster relief." And they said, "You're locals."
Yeah, you're certainly not a tourist,
Right.
You know,
They said, you guys, if you'll come halfway across the world
To
to
help.
help us out,
rebuild our island, right?
you're a local. So we would get local pricing on everything, and which was cool.
So they actually
That's
had,
what I'm
like,
saying.
different
there's like two
pricing.
menus.
There's-
What?
Typically, that's what I mean. Like, I'm surprised that there's two menus in the same establishment. Sometimes there's just two establishments. One where
You go here, they go there.
the locals go one place and all the tourists go to another. That's why but like street food, like carts and shit like that.
Well, they have on Thursdays while we were there, and it must be every
Like
Thursday.
an open air market.
They have an open air market, which was awesome because one place is grilling octopus and
Right.
squid, and another place has like just Chinese food. Another place, they had actually a street vendor doing the ice cream where you put it on the cold plate, and
Yeah,
you
roll it.
yeah.
The-
Shit, man.
Yeah.
See, Devin, my wife.
Some of the flavors they had were like,
Fish.
Asian flavorings.
Hot fish, please. One hot fish ice cream, please.
Asian flavoring for stuff is sometimes a little
Yeah,
different.
There's some savory flavors they have that are
How's the communication? Like, does everybody pretty much
Oh, it's English.
speak English?
Yeah,
or-
the natives there are Chamorro, but they speak English.
Oh, okay.
They've had over the years, the island has been inhabited and controlled by different places. Now it's been a U.S. protectorate since World War II, and you saw some of my pictures. I was sitting on top of a tank that's in the water. That tank's been there for 75 years
Yeah.
from the war. But everybody there speaks English. They also have their native, if it's Chamorro or Carolinian. The islands are Chamorro and Carolinian. I don't know which is which. And then you have a lot of Filipinos living there as well. But everybody's just pleasant. Like when we were in Alaska, we went into a little bar up there that had just opened back up. It was in an old town, Galena. And we just went in to throw a couple bucks at them, just help you start back up because you just had a year of flood recovery. And we walked in, and 4 people on the other side of the bar got up and left. And the bartender said, "Oh, I just got too white for him." I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "Nah." She goes, they don't trust white people here. Until they get to know you, they don't trust you.
even the ones rebuilding their homes.
Well, see, up there it was funny because Old Town, FEMA wouldn't pay for anything down there because it was going to flood again. And if it was going to flood again, and they told the people, if you move up to Newtown, Galena, then we'll build you a house.
Right.
But if you're in Old Town, we won't rebuild
we're not
down.
wasting
So
money
they
in the floodplain.
hated FEMA,
Right.
but they loved the volunteers. So when they found out we were volunteers, there was another guy that was there. He got real talkative. I actually watched they do this river race down the Yukon River where it's homemade boats. And it was actually on one of the sports channels. My buddy who went up with me said, "Oh, they're talking to Tougher." And this Tougher was there talking about this race because that's one of the stops along the race path, which was really cool.
Yeah.
So he sat and talked to us, and the bartender Sissy, she owned the place, but she was telling us stories, and we just had a great night. 1 or 2 beers, because you're not really supposed to drink on these
Sure.
trips, but you know, one or two, and we were just being there for the community,
Sure.
really, and you know, one or two beers there, and great stories, and you know, I fell in love with doing that kind of work there, and now I just want to continue doing it when I retire. God willing, at 55, that's why I want to scuba dive and I want to go on mission trips.
Very cool, man. Yeah. I love looking at your pictures, man. All over, everywhere. Very cool stuff. A lot of
On his Instagram.
yeah, Instagram.
Instagram and Facebook, I have Mission Mike for both of them because everybody always asks
The
me.
way you made it seem like I just like there's pictures posted all over the place of Mike's like, hey, you didn't see Mike's new shit yet? Down on the billboards.
Everybody always asks me, oh, you got pictures? I'm like, I got tons of pictures because I'm
That's
like a
awesome.
Japanese tourist.
Yeah.
I just
I messaged him or I posted a comment. How the hell is any work getting done with these pictures?
and there's no pictures of me working.
Yeah, no.
But
Awesome.
I just take pictures of it, and so I started the Instagram and the Facebook page for Mission Mike, and I invited most of the people that I know who always ask me, hey, what do you do when you go in these? Well, here's what I do. So I put videos together and stuff too.
One of my fraternity brothers is huge into I'm fairly certain his father is a pastor at the church in Allentown, and then the whole family is involved in missionary work. So he's in. I think last year he was in India once or twice, all over the Virgin Islands and Cuba and like the photos and like all they do is rebuild stuff and same stuff as you, like do everything that they can, and he's big with like music and art and stuff like that too. So like a lot of his pictures are like kids playing. Like he gave his guitar to a kid, and like just to see the video and like these kids just lose it. They it's the happiest moment of their lives, some of them, and it's just like it's really neat. It's really awesome.
All these places we go, you create a friendship with the people that you're helping, and they're so appreciative that when you leave, it's like you're leaving a family member behind.
Right.
When we were there in Saipan the first time, the family that we helped, they said, you ever come back to this island, this is your home.
Yeah.
You are our grandkids.
That's awesome.
You are our kids. This is your home. So when I went back this time, I took the guy that went with me, and we went over to the house that we had done the last time, and she's looking at his parking, and I didn't have the beard then. I only had the goatee, the martial law goatee. And I get out of the car, and immediately, Mike, how you doing? What are you doing back here? She takes me in the house, and her husband was in there, and one of her other grandkids was in there, not the one that was with us every day. But, it's just to see them and see it, because there was another hurricane or typhoon.
Right.
And they did have some water leak into the house, but it blew up underneath the siding. It didn't tear any of the roof off. So everything that we had done held true. And
Good.
And it was just good seeing that the house was, because
That would have been a shitty you show up and like,
What?
hey, sorry, we'll
They
fix,
had one
we'll
broken-
fix it while we're here this time. I'm sorry.
they had one broken window, but FEMA wouldn't do anything for them this time because, I don't know, just the way their rules are set up. Like when we were there the first time, we did their house. It was a shell. Someone came and put a block shell, and they filled the block with concrete, and they sparged the walls. And then we did everything else. We put doors, roof, electric, plumbing, everything in. This time we went, it was watertight and safe.
Mm-hmm.
So doors, windows, and roof. And, when we left, I'm like, we had a debrief with FEMA, and they're like, what would you like to see this program do? I'd like to see it run some electric for these people. And I said, because it's heartbreaking knowing that we're tearing out old pieces of roof with hanging wires, and they have to come back and now run new wiring and all that. And number one, they don't have the funds to do it. Right. Number two, they don't have the skill.
Right. They don't know how to do
Some
it.
people do, but some people don't.
Well,
And
just, even still, you're talking about a magnitude of people. It's not
Yeah.
like one or two people.
No, it was
Now
like
you're-
2/3 of that island were destroyed.
Now all of those people need power again.
Right.
So it's going to take more than a local electrician.
I
to
said
get
it'd be
all that
nice
figured
if we could have run electric while we were there, and FEMA said that's one of the things we will cover, as long as it's not air conditioning, because the government deems that air conditioning isn't
A
a
luxury.
necessity.
Sure.
Which, if you've ever been to the South Pacific,
100
it is
Yeah.
because it's so hot. Like the heat really hit me this time. I'm 2 years older, but the heat hit me so bad this time. Like I felt like I was useless some parts of the day because it just takes the energy out. So the one day it was just so hot, and I'm trudging through, and I'm sitting down, I'm drinking water, and I'm trying to go, and then it started raining. Well, they need a tin cut for the roof. I'm out in the rain just
now it's time to work.
Like I'm just banging it out because I'm feeling good in this
now
rain.
it's time to work.
I'm standing there like this is the best day ever.
So is it a humid hot or is it just
Humid hot.
Yeah, humid. That's what
It's like 90 degrees, 90% humidity,
I was
with
gonna
someone
say,
blowing hair dryers on your face.
Yeah, that's what kills you is the humidity. It's
St. Croix was different. St. Croix was hot, but the cool breeze off the
You get that
ocean.
ocean breeze. Yeah.
Now, you get an ocean breeze there too, but it's just hot.
Yeah.
The ocean is 80 degrees.
Ugh.
Like you get in the water. Like I took my wetsuit with me to scuba dive.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking there's no way I'm putting a 5 mil wetsuit on in this heat. There's no way.
Yeah.
I'll die. So I just went with a rash guard and shorts, and that's how my dive guide went.
Cool.
He goes, that's what I'm wearing. I'm like, okay, I'm good.
nice. I've never when we go to Jamaica every year, I always am afraid to do the scuba diving thing. I'm always afraid because I don't know how legit the
Oh yeah, man.
yeah, how
I
legit
checked
the
your
train.
hair this morning.
Well, if it's a certified, like a PADI certified or SSI certified, you should be okay. Most of those places are pretty. They don't want to lose their ratings.
Yeah.
When I was in Saipan the first time, they were a PADI shop, and it was a legit shop. Like you could, the one place I went, I'm like, I'm not diving with these people. Like but the other place had a nice storefront. The people were nice. They were like, oh yeah, we can do this. We could do this. It's a discovery dive. They sit you down. You watch a videotape from like 1960 something, and you learn the basics. They take you in shallow water, and that's your discovery dive. And then in the afternoon, because you're certified to a certain point. Now you can go down 25 feet or something like that. And so in the afternoon, they took me someplace else. But I had done so well earlier in the morning, they took me deeper because I was very comfortable with it. At first, I'm claustrophobic. I going back up to the surface to take my
panic. That's what
so the guy says, just breathe and calm down. So we get down, and he can tell when you're breathing faster because more and more bubbles. And he just goes like this, and I'm good. And I did it, and I got out of the water for the first time. I'm getting out of the water, and I'm in a shorty wetsuit, and I'm walking out, and I got my tanks on.
This is a f***ing image that's going to take all day to get out of my head, but okay, keep going.
I got flippers on, and they're evacuating the island because there's that tail end of a typhoon is hitting.
Jesus, get back in the water. It's only a typhoon.
There's Asian people running everywhere, so I look like Godzilla coming out of the water. And
why are you running?
Don't run,
It's Godzilla!
So the dive master's up on shore, and he's just laughing. The guy who went with me, he's actually a master scuba diving as well. He was going with me in the afternoon, but he just went out with me to go for my first dive. And he was sitting up there talking to the guy, and they're both up there laughing. They said, "You look like Godzilla coming out of the water, dude." Asian people running everywhere, and I'm like, "That's horrible." So he said, "Did you see the big coral, the little coral?" I said, "Well, we went down. There was a couple corals, some fish, and then he took me to like a coral wall." And he goes, "That means you did really good, because they don't take everybody out to the wall. If they don't feel comfortable taking you out, they don't take you out." So most of these places they don't want anybody, because like especially a small island like that, they don't want anybody to drown on their watch.
Yeah, it'll be in the paper. I mean,
well, it's word of mouth there. Like
right.
when I was coming in, the island shut down, so the ferry had left. Well, we went over on a speedboat, and we paid the guy both ways plus a tip. And he gave us his number. He said, "When you're done, call us. We'll be there." So we're talking to the dive people, and we're like, "Look, how are we gonna get off?" They said, "Well, how'd you get here?" "We came on a speedboat." "Did he give you his number?" "Yeah." "If you call him, he'll come. He doesn't care if he's gonna get in trouble for coming, because the island shut down. He doesn't want you bad mouthing his service, because that's his bread and butter." We called him. No shit, he was there in 5 minutes.
Wow.
It was like, whoa.
So you actually went to like another small island?
There's a little island.
Hold on, honey. I just got to go pick this guy up in the typhoon real quick. I'll be right back.
It's Mahanaga. I think I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it's right off of the main island. It's a recreational island. When you walk on the beach, they come up to you. They take $5 from you, because it's like going into a state park.
Sure.
Unless you're a local. So they ask you, "You're a local?" No. They said, "Well, it's $5 for people who aren't local." And they said, "You sure you're not local?" I'm like, "Nope." I said, "We're here with MDS and FEMA, and we're doing disaster relief. You're local. Come on in."
That's cool.
So yeah, it was really cool, and I fell in love with scuba diving. So now, when I took my dive class over here in West Reading, and we went down to Dutch Springs, and we did our checkout dives in Dutch Springs, which is like there's no visibility. Like it's a quarry.
Where's Dutch Springs?
It's down in Bethlehem.
Okay.
So there's like no visibility, and they said if you can get your certification here, you can dive almost anywhere because you can't see nothing there. It was. I'll dive there again because there's cool stuff to see underwater. But just learning there. If you're especially claustrophobic, you can't see. We got separated from the pack like twice, so you always have a dive buddy. So I was with my dive buddy and one instructor, but the whole pack was going someplace, and we got separated from him. We were like, okay, let's just do our. And he took us through everything, and we did everything properly. But it's until you get down.
Isn't that a little creepy?
It is creepy. It's very creepy.
Being underwater,
not knowing where you're at, with a tank on your back, being the only thing separating you from death.
No,
Yeah, that's creepy.
The funny thing is, you get down to 40 feet, there's a thermocline, so you can see the difference in water temperature, and then you get below that, and it's much clearer. The colder the water was much clearer. So you get down there, there's a little boat, and they take you over as you're doing your safety stop and way up at 15 feet. You go along the edge, and you pick up rocks and catch crayfish, and the brown trout will come eat the crayfish right out of your hand.
Wow,
Which is really cool.
that is pretty neat. I always wanted to dive over.
I wouldn't mind it, but like the only experience I have with my wife in that situation is when we were on our honeymoon at Dominican. We went to the Dominican Republic. We walked out onto the beach, and the water's crystal clear, and there's fish in the ocean. I didn't mind that. Well, they were coming right up to her and like
Nibbling her feet.
on her feet. We spent the rest of the week in the pool. We didn't even go back to the
My wife is like definitely afraid of sharks. So when I was diving this time, I saw a shark. It's a 4-foot black tip reef shark, or white tip reef shark. I have a picture of it, and I saw a stonefish, which is the most poisonous fish in the sea. So I show her these pictures. She's like, "Why would you show me that?" Like she goes in a pool and is looking around for sharks.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm yeah.
But it's just, sharks are not naturally aggressive towards humans.
Right.
They're interested, and if you look like food, they'll take a bite.
That's what I was just gonna say. You don't look like something that shark is looking to eat.
Yeah,
a
I'm
reef,
not gonna fuck with that.
Hey,
a 4-foot reef shark's gonna look at me and say, "He gonna eat me."
Oh man, yeah. So when we go down to Jamaica, there's like you can snorkel over at this one area, and that's like as far as I'll go. I'll do the snorkel because there's a ton of fish and shit in there that you can
like
see.
cousin Eddie, I could see you walking around, your snorkel and your flippers on.
It's actually that shallow that I just like walk around. I walk around with my head down, like my feet are still on the ground. But it's pretty cool.
Man, that's funny.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. So, they got anything else for us?
Do I? I didn't even look at my notes. Let me take a look.
You're usually looking at your notes.
Yeah. No, I didn't have any not this time.
You didn't. Let's circle back. You didn't bring Punjaba up at all.
I didn't.
To Kevin.
No, and
The whole have you? Do you know any? Kevin Smith has these two movies, Tusk and Moose
Yoga Hosers.
Yoga Hosers. We talked about it way earlier in like some of our early episodes. One of the movies is based on these tiny
The sausages.
Bratzies.
Yeah. So he thought they were saying Punjaba.
Yeah, I don't get how you got that.
No, nor do I, because it's clearly Wunderbar,
Yeah.
which is an actual German word.
Yeah.
But he,
Well, after you said it, it made a whole lot more sense.
honest to God, I still think that that's like the pinnacle of our recordings, that episode. So I can't believe you didn't.
Where do you get Punjab from Wonderbar?
It's just what I don't know the word for it. It's just like what my brain hears. Like,
It's like Amelia Earnhart.
A million in your heart.
but yeah, as soon as I turned off the recorder, I go. I wanted to ask you when Moose Jaws is coming out. He goes, all right, this is how it goes. Clerks 3, Mallrats 2, Moose Jaws. It's like, all right. He's like, then you'll get your Moose.
He's with you. Clerks 3, for real?
Yeah, there's going to be a Clerks 3, yeah. He already has the script written and everything because Dante and the other guy was the holdout. I can't remember his name. Dante and I don't remember.
The other clerk?
Yeah,
The
the
video
video guy.
clerk?
Yeah,
I don't remember his name.
he was like the one that was the holdout,
The holdout.
like that didn't want to do it.
Was
But
he
he was
something
in-
better to do?
Well, he was
how do you
in
do a
Reboot.
video store now?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, actually, they're Kevin bought that building, the where the old
That's
movie
where you
theater.
saw the. Oh, I thought you meant the comic or the convenience store slash.
Yeah, Harry and I went to the convenience store when we went for the Yoga Hosers premiere.
Right.
But the video store is now closed, and Kevin bought that side of the building, and he's actually turning it into a podcast studio, Smodco.
So now that's where we have to drive every Sunday.
Yeah, down in New Jersey, Red Bank, New Jersey.
Sure. Face socks. We've already
Face
gone over
socks?
the Face socks.
We talked about face socks in our personal life, yeah, not on the podcast.
Our personal life.
There's socks with faces on them.
That's really it.
Yeah.
That was the end of it. And everything else we covered.
Yeah. So this Riho that I met yesterday, she
Wash your fucking clothing already.
was
That was Thursday, not yesterday. Oh, it was yesterday. It was Saturday.
she's very small. Did you see the picture?
Mhm.
She had 2-inch platform shoes on. Also,
Nice.
Like that's how small she is, and she's the world champion.
That's good, man.
Yeah, she's really good.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
World champion.
AEW females
Okay.
champion. Yeah, female. She's been
You didn't
wrestling.
stipulate that?
No.
Been wrestling since she's 9.
Oh. So it's like 7 years?
She's 22. 22.
You need to
She's
tone
my
it down.
favorite.
You need to tone it down then. If that's
Did
the
you see
case.
when I posted those
My
pictures?
Lord.
I just wrote, "Just call me Mark."
You got anything else, man?
Not today, no.
Anything you want to peddle or sell or promote?
Where can people follow you? Mission Mike.
Mission Mike on Instagram, and I don't know, it's Mission Mike on Facebook, but there's something
Nobody
else.
goes on Facebook for.
I'll post the links and everything. And if you could send me the links to those the organizations and stuff that you work for or that you do stuff for, the
Okay.
Shield, Blue Shields, all that, I'll post it all on our links.
Blue Knights.
Blue Knights. Sorry, it's a shield, so
Blue Knights PA4.
got me thrown off.
Blue Knights is actually an international motorcycle club.
Oh yeah.
They have in Ireland, and I think the national convention next year is in Ireland.
Very cool.
I'm not going, but
I'll go for
You
it.
should get hooked up with that Cigars for Warriors that my uncle.
well, it's funny because I don't know if it was that organization, but I've gone to CI's Cigar Fest. I went since the first year, and I stopped going a couple of years ago. I got too many cigars now.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Brad
was talking about he's not just the Warriors project. He's involved with the Smoke Shield.
Smoke.
Which is-
Yeah, I saw that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Smoke Shield.
Yes.
Okay.
I've said it. He's agreed with it, and I've actually confirmed it with you just now. So yeah,
But we always took a, because you go to the Cigar Fest, you pay like $200 for your ticket. You go to all the vendors, you get to meet the vendors, and they give you a sample of their cigars. You got a coupon book, you coupon, you get your sample, and they're always set up there. I don't know if it's the same one or not, but I always make sure I put a chunk of cigars in there for the soldiers.
Were you ever at that place that he was talking about?
Leaf?
Yeah, Leaf.
I've never been to
International.
Leaf. I've been to the famous store,
Uh-huh.
but I've never been to the restaurant.
Okay.
And it is very cool.
Cool. Yeah, he's having
I want to check that out.
in January on January 20th, I think it is, the Fat Ash Bash. That's where they're releasing their next cigar.
Yeah, I was listening today.
Check it out. It's up in your neck of the woods.
No,
No.
that's even farther from me.
Schuylkill County.
I'm a school.
Oh, right. He
It's-
grew
it-
up in Allentown. He grew up in that area.
Jesus.
Yeah, but
Hey,
still,
attention.
Easton's almost New Jersey.
Is that far up?
Yes.
Yes.
Really?
Well, the next
No, New Jersey isn't up. It's all over.
Over.
it's Easton then Phillipsburg.
Yeah, I hate that whole area. Anyway.
Sorry. Okay. We
So I don't want to talk about Easton.
Yeah,
So
I don't
with
buy Crayola crayons for my kid. They're from Easton.
I put the solar farm.
You personally put the solar farm in Easton, Pennsylvania.
half of them, yeah, physically installed them.
Shut up.
I swear to God.
When the did you work for a solar
Me
company?
and Jimmy Maluzzi and Rick put all. I think there were like 26,000 panels. that we
And
put
you
up.
put half of them in.
Me and another. There was another company that did the other half. We'll talk about it.
I missed
We'll
that.
talk about
I
it
missed
on
that
another
part
show.
of your life.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, that's when we weren't talking. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
man. It's good to see you again.
Next week, what do we got?
Next week will be, I think, Justin Spaneth,
Oh, cool.
one of
Unique.
the owners of Unique Pretzels.
Is your dad not coming in yet?
He will be in a few months. Not.
Give me some time to lose some weight.
Yeah. Have you started walking yet?
Did he get his?
I gotta cut that out. That's why he's not coming on the show.
That's funny.
And we're out.
Join us next week for Justin Spaneth from Casey, Mike, myself, and Vu, who wasn't here again this week.
Vu was sick. He texted me during the show. He's not feeling well. So get well, Ryan, and get well, Johnny M.
Take
Think
care of
about it,
yourself,
buddy.
everybody. It's been emotional.
Goodbye.